Hey everybody, welcome back to Everyday Journey. Look at what I got. I got a scythe. Actually, I got 3 scythes. And I really only wanted to get one good one. But I had to travel probably about an hour away or a little bit more to be able to get it. And somebody else in the vicinity was selling one too. So I went ahead and got both of them because I couldn't tell. I mean, it was a crapshoot whether or not these were going to be any good. And so I'm like, well, might as well get 2. Well, the first guy, he was looking to see if he had another one to sell me, and he actually only found another handle. And the other guy, he actually sold me 1 handle with 2 blades. So I ended up getting 3 out of the deal. And it looks like I got 2 of the regular ones, regular blades, regular length anyway. And then one of the short ones that this is hopefully will be really good for doing blackberries and stuff. You can already see that the end of it's chipped, and you know it is what it is. We're going to make it work because you saw me in my previous video. I'll link it up here about the yo-yos or ditch witch or whatever you want to call them, sharpening those up. Those are great, but they're really good for that specific purpose, for like a ditch witch, because you're just swinging back and forth. It doesn't really work very good for what I'd like to use these for, which is actually to mow hay. Just to right around where the animals and stuff are, and just do it by hand. It's nice and peaceful. I mean, I've practiced it out here, and I'm not very good at it, but I guess I can get better. But you really can't do much anyway because these things are really, really dull. Of course, it could be dependent on the material that you're cutting too, because some of the stuff that I'm cutting is, well, a lot of it is actually Johnson grass and stuff, and that stuff it's already towards the end of the season, so it's already kind of dying back, and it's a little tougher, so it's going to cut through it a little worse than it would if it was fresh green grass. A day or so ago, I went ahead and sprayed all the joints, or all the bolts, nuts, and things that just to try to break them up. Just to loosen them up, actually, so that whenever it comes time for me to readjust these handles, and maybe possibly readjust, not this one because this has got the slip rings, but the 2 back here, they actually have a bolt that you would undo to be able to change the position of this. And if I need to, I'd like to be able to do that without having to twist off a bolt or something. So I've already sprayed those down. They've been sitting for a day. I'll probably do it again because they're not really moving that well. This stuff has been sitting up for a long time. So we'll see though. If it moves good, then I can readjust it that way. But really it just needs to be cleaned up so that I can then easily adjust it anytime I need to. But let's go ahead and check this one out. Give you an idea. We'll do this one. It's already wet because I just went out there, and it's raining right now. So I'll let you see what it's doing. So you can see I look great in my shorts and my boots, but other than that, you can see that this thing is not cutting very well at all. One of these blades is actually a little bit bent, and I believe it's this one, and it shouldn't really matter that much as long as it's nice and sharp, and as long as it's straight enough to do the cutting. But I don't know which one I'm going to keep on which handle. Whichever one works the best is the one I'm going to use the most. But first thing we're going to do is I just want to clean all this up, get all this. I mean, it's really pitted and everything else, but we need to get this blade off of here so that we can just really clean it up. I've got a wire wheel back here that I can use on my drill press, and the wire wheel should help tremendously to get this cleaned up, and then we could see about sharpening it. We also need to adjust these handles. Luckily, this protrudes out just far enough that I can get a wrench onto it. This looks like it's probably been replaced at some point in time. I tried turning this, but it's trying to turn this whole metal piece down here too, which I don't think is ideal. It's just trying to tear up the handle. At least for this side anyway, though, looks like that penetrating oil that I put on there, looks like maybe it did the trick. Wow. So there's what that looks like. And again, it looks like this is somebody made this, because the other side of it, you can tell it's a nice rounded, curved thing. This right here is just, looks like a dowel that somebody just drilled out the center and didn't even get it completely centered. But it'll work. I don't need it to be like this one. It just has to be able to be adjusted properly. See if we can get this one apart too. I think I'm going to spray that one again and work it back and forth and see if we can't get it to loosen up a lot more. There. Oh wow. I did not expect that. I was actually tightening it. So I'll have to look at this other one and see, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah, one of these is normal right hand thread and the other one is backwards. Because when I think I'm loosening this, it actually is tightening it on. So I can't tell. I know this other one over here is split open. But this one seems to either be welded closed, or it's corroded closed, or it's supposed to be closed. So I guess we don't really actually have to open it up. Not really sure why that would be welded or anything, but it's not opening up like this other one. This other one over here, it opened up, and I'm not really sure that it needs to. I'm not going to weld this one closed again, but this one over here, I think we'll keep it closed. Maybe just open it just a little bit so that it can spin around freely. May even move it out more on this handle, because I don't think it's in the proper position for me anyway. Yeah, but it's loose. That's the biggest thing. Now I just got to make sure and keep these together. I think I will, yeah. I'll put this back together for the time being, just loosely. That way I keep the right parts with the right parts. You can see I've gotten most of the rust off of it. Now you just see the pitting and everything else. Let's see if we can get a better view. It's not too bad, but it could definitely be a lot better. I really don't care so much about the pitting and stuff like that. Really, I just want it to function. So we need to make sure that it's sharp. And this thing is dull. I mean, this right here should cut me, and it's not going to. This is like a butter knife. And using the sharpener I got, this one here, this is made for these, and it's got the right curvature and everything else. This is actually an antique one, so, well, it's at least old stock anyway, and I think they said it's antique. But I'll have to look up that place. It's a bit of advertising on it. It says phone number is 34, so there's a good chance this is pretty old. But this is way too fine for this work at the moment. What we really need to do is, I'm going to use a rougher file here to be able to take care of the major stuff. Get it down to where it can then be honed in, or at least sharpened in a lot better. So I'm going to keep the same curvature you'd typically be going for, and just sit here and sharpen it up until I get everything done across this, so that it can then take an edge. Right now it's just way too rough to even take an edge. So here's the handle that I said looked like it was kind of homemade, like somebody replaced it. And it turns out I'm pretty sure they did, because at the same time they also put on a right-hand nut. Remember whenever I was taking this thing apart, it actually, one of them turned one way and one of them turned the other to be able to take it off. It actually is supposed to be a left-hand thread. These are left-hand threads, this is left-hand threads, and this nut is left-hand threads that was on the one that was on the one that I took apart first. So this one, luckily I have another one over here that I could take the handle off of, and was able to get the nut because I can't use the right-hand threads. So I can put this back together because it actually matches a little bit better in shape. I'm actually going to take the handle from the other one and put on here as well. That way I don't have to, well, that way so everything matches. As far as the other scythe goes, I will probably try to make another handle similar in shape to this, and I will try to source somewhere I think it's a 5/16/18 left-hand thread nut. Either that or I'll get a tap and I'll make my own. But either way, we're ready to put this thing back together. Everything is oiled up. The only thing I didn't do is actually take the base that the blade hooks to. I didn't take that apart and clean it up. That thing's pretty thick and I really have no need to. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the blade back on, or put the handles back on, and then we'll figure out how to get everything adjusted properly, put the blade back on, and I'll go out and do some test cuts. This did not come off of here very easily. And it was right here is the location of it before. I don't think I liked it there, so I'm going to try it further up. But now that it is adjustable, I can move it around wherever I like. All right, let's go test cut. Well, there you go. It does work. It is sharper. I think there are several different factors. One is this thing is definitely not, it should be razor sharp. And it's not there yet, but it's on its way. It's just a matter of keep honing it, keep on, because you can't expect, I even broke down and used the Dremel tool, and I didn't want to do that. But once I honed it a little bit to be able to get the shape of it, or be able to show me the line for which it was actually sharpening at, then I could use the Dremel tool to mimic that line. That way I was getting the angles right and everything else. But yeah, there was just way too much rust. You can tell by the sharpener here. And I'm not really sure what the deal is with this. I think, given that it was for advertising, I don't think that it was very good quality. I think they were just trying to get them out because I don't know if you could see it or not, but it already wore off quite a bit on this one side where I was sharpening. And I don't think it should do that. I know there was a lot of pitting and rust and everything else, but maybe this thing will be okay for just honing it, and I'll use it for that. But until I get a nice, good edge on it, I don't think I'm going to use this one anymore. I may even look into another one to see if maybe a better quality one. And you never know, maybe this, whatever it's made out of, maybe that kind of breaks down over the years, because I'm thinking that, again, since it has a phone number of 3434, it's probably pretty old. So maybe whatever holds it together, binds it together, maybe that wears over the years, and maybe it's just not going to work as well now. But we tried. I think that thing cost me like, I think it cost me like $12 or something like that. And, it's what it's for, so I thought I'd use it. And it just didn't really work the way I wanted it to. But again, this thing has a lot more sharpening needing to be done before it gets to that level. And you don't need that. You can, as long as you get the angles right and everything else, you can hand sharpen this with a file, in finer and finer files. And you can even break down and start using some diamond files. And I actually have some of those. So if I ever get it to that point, I can really get it sharper than this thing ever could. So, but it doesn't really need to be that sharp. It's just for cutting grass. It's just, you want to get it as sharp as you can, then cut, and then hone it, and cut, and keep going like that, and make sure you're always sharpening it well. So, let's see. Everything seemed to clean up very well. The blade, I only got the majority of the rust off. That way I could see what the condition of it was. Yeah, there's pitting and stuff, but it's not too bad. I don't care that it's that way. I just cleaned it up so I could oil it down and make sure the oil is going to stay on it so it won't rust too much anymore. I didn't bother with the head of this, like I said, because there's no really need to. I could go ahead and clean it up or at least oil it down, and I probably will actually, just to keep it from rusting much more. But that's all I need to really do with that. Just a matter of making sure that nut right there stays loose. That way I can go ahead and loosen that whenever I need to. And I may work with right now it's in this position right here, the far position. I may change it up and move it, change the angle of this because of that. And then I've seen too where people have actually heated this up right here, the tang of it, I guess you would call it, and then bent this so that it rode more flush with the ground. Not really sure if that's needed on this or not, but that's something I can try later. The handles, I'm not really very pleased with they don't seem to be tightening down real well. Granted, it's going to press itself into the wood, and as I work it, it's going to go a little further. I'm just afraid I'm going to split the handles whenever I go twisting them too tight. Already this one here has got quite a bit more thread showing than what it did before. Of course, I did move it to a somewhat thinner part on the handle because right here it was thicker, therefore it wasn't going to be able to squeeze down as much. Here, same thing, but they're moving around a little bit, and like I said, maybe as I tighten them up more and as I work them, they will get to a point to where they're no longer shifting a little bit, but they're mostly good now. It's just a matter of seeing just a matter of making sure that I get it the way I need it to. Probably shouldn't be putting as much force on those handles as what I am. You can see I'm kind of slinging it through, and I think a lot of that is because of how sharp this is. It's still fairly dull. I mean, if I can run my thumb like this on it, that's pretty dull. And it feels even duller now that I've used a little bit. So I will keep practicing and keep honing, and because I really like using this. It's a decent workout. You find yourself just on the cusp, of feeling that your breath you need to breathe a little bit more. So you are exercising a little bit, but it's not to a point to where it seems to wear you out at all. So, I don't know if you'd want to do it all day long, but I think you probably could. Anyway, now I've got a new tool. I can use this to mow, especially around where the animals are. That way I can just cut it off, go back later, a couple hours later, rake it up, and I've got the nice tall grass. It's much better than mowing through it with my mower and, it collecting over here. But the mower blade, it goes around, spins around, and just chops it into little bits and pieces. That's not exactly what I want. This right here, right off at the base, let it fall down, dry a little bit. There you go. There's hay. So I'll definitely put this thing to use. Just like the yo-yo, I've used that. It doesn't work as well because you're cutting through, and it doesn't just cut through right at the base. I mean, if you imagine, it's coming down like this, so it'll cut, and then by the time it gets to the bottom, it's got one full piece. But you figure these over here got cut on the way down, so they're a little taller. And then you move over, you cut again, so now it's getting cut up multiple times. This one, not the case. It should just cut it off at the bottom, move on, cut off at the bottom, and everything just lays there. Well, hopefully you like that. Yeah, there are tons of videos out there. Thankfully, you're here to watch mine. I'm grateful. Hopefully you learned something. And in the future, I hope to bring out tons of videos like this. Go ahead and hit that like button if you would. If you did like it anyway. Go go ahead and hit the bell notification and the subscription. That way you're notified whenever I come out with new videos, which I try to do as often as I can. And if you can think of anything that you want me to do, any videos you'd like me to do, go ahead and leave that in the comments. Any other things, leave it in the comments. I love to read them, love to respond to them. And I guess that's all I got for now. So until next time, y'all take care.